Real Country 1430 AM and 107.3 FM WRDN. Good morning, I'm Brian Winnikins. Happy Monday. Our final week of June Dairy Month. Salutes to our June Dairy Month dairy breakfast this week. Hosts of the Dairy Brunch in Dunn County. We're with the Gilbertson family at the Gilbertson Farm just outside of Elk Mound, and they will be hosting the Dairy Brunch on Saturday from 9 until 1. And all this week, we're going to talk with the Gilbertsons a little bit about their farm. Joining us right now, Kevin Gilbertson, and we're going to find out a little bit about the farm. And Kevin, thanks for joining us. Well, for those watching our interview on YouTube, tell us about the cow that's in the background here, the picture of the cow.
Well, that's my daughter. She's a stout student in the art department, and she likes to paint. So she painted a cow for the barn when we moved in. So
I love it. Tell us a little bit about Gilbertson Farms. You're the fifth generation?
Yes, I'm the fifth. We currently have 3 generations here. My parents, they still have ownership. They don't do daily chores, but they're here. And then myself and my 2 brothers. And then next up is the 6th generation of my oldest son, Brandon. And then my youngest son, Caleb, who's 18, has plans to return after tech school. So
that is awesome. So tell us about, I understand the farm started kind of small in the very beginning.
Yeah, the first Gilbertson settled here in 1875, and we're not sure those first few years what the farm looked like. Kind of assuming they grew wheat because we're in the town of Wheaton, and they probably had a few animals, but we know by 1900 they had a barn. They had like I think my dad thought maybe a dozen stalls in the barn. So they milked cows starting in 1900. We've never missed a day since. Gilbertsons have milked cows ever since. But always changing, always growing. My dad remembers when they tore that barn down and built a 29-stall, 2-story stanchion barn in the 50s. In 1980, when I was a kid, we got hit with that windstorm on July 15th, 1980. At that time, my dad was switching at least 2 groups through that barn that they built in the 50s. He had a loafing shed with some free stalls in it. He decided to take a gamble. He had 3 young boys and thought, now's maybe the time to do something. So he added a lean-to to the tie stall barn, put in a swing 6 parlor, rebuilt the loafing shed that fell down, put in 90 free stalls. So that's how I grew up, milking in a parlor, free stalls. And then all 3, my parents had 3 boys, all 3 of us decided we wanted to come back and farm. And in 1997, after I was home from college, married, we decided to build a new freestall barn. Went to 220 cows or so. Kind of decided that was an odd size, so in 2005, we expanded that barn again and went to 400 cows. That held good for a long time, but then as that 1980s parlor was wearing out, we had to think of what the next step was for our farm. And with a younger generation interested in more modern technology, but none of us really wanting to be HR people and manage a bunch of employees, we started to explore robots. And in spring of 2021, we broke ground on our robot facility, moved in April of 2022, and here we are, fully robotic. We have no milking parlor anymore. From the day the cow calves until she dried off, she's milked in a robot.
Wow, and we are going to talk with Kevin's son Brandon as well here on Tuesday about how they care for the cows and how they protect the milk as well. Kevin, that's that big change from having to have a milking parlor to the robots. That, for yourself, that has to just be the biggest change, other than the big tornado and when the barn went down. That's got to be the biggest change that you probably have lived through here on the farm.
Oh, absolutely. Very stressful time, never knowing if you made the right decision, because you're not going to know that until it's built. But being 2 years into it now, getting the hang of things, getting the flow, we are very happy with what we decided to do. It's not easy. It's not like we can just take off for a week and the cows are going to take care of themselves, but it's more enjoyable work. It's just working with cows, doing barn chores. It's not stuck in a parlor milking cows.
And I would think that gives yourself and your son and the rest of the family to be able to do family things, at the Elk Mound School. If you have kids or grandkids at the school, you can go to those events. Just do other things than Christmas morning. You don't have to worry about milking the cows first before you open presents.
Yeah, it is, but you're still on call because if something goes wrong, you got to be there. But like for my wife and I, we can be gone, and we know Brandon's going to handle it. He's not going to have anything that he can't take care of. You're not going to have employee issues. Worst case scenario, he's got to call the dealership to have help fix something. But everything else, we know he can handle it. And yeah, it's just a more relaxing way to take care of cows.
We are talking with Kevin Gilbertson from Gilbertson Farms. They are the host of this Saturday's Dunn County Dairy Brunch. That'll be from 9 until 1 here at Gilbertson Farms, just outside of Elk Mound. Thank you to Dairy Farmers of Wisconsin for supporting our spotlights all this June Dairy Month. Coming up tomorrow morning, we are going to chat with Brandon. He's in charge of that barn, which means he's in charge of those cows, and I would also think he's probably in charge of the robots, too. We're going to talk with Brandon a little bit about that tomorrow morning. You're listening to WRDN.